Hi, I'm Kymberley Carter-Paige and I'm a coach and clinical hypnotherapist. I teach people how to take back their minds from the programs that have been installed in them. I hope that you can stay with me for the next 15 minutes where I can offer you some tools for a calmer life.
Kymberley, last time we were talking about the effect of your hypnotherapy versus hypnotism, and we looked at the hypnotism that went on during the COVID era, the pandemic, the era of such fear-mongering from our politicians. But I asked you at the end there if this time you could talk about how certain minds did not fall for that programming, for that brainwashing, for that fear-mongering from our governments. How do you explain that as a hypnotherapist?
A lot of it is people that tend to question things, that won't just accept what's being told. They have to, in order to understand something, they need to see a bigger picture. Yeah. There's also trauma. If trauma has happened in your childhood, you are more likely to be hypnotizable because the subconscious is already on high alert. So if you're stressed from work, or you had a difficult childhood, or you've been really sick, so again, even if you've had a major operation, your subconscious will be on high alert because you've almost died, you've been really sick. All of those things will make it easier for you to be hypnotized through fear, because the subconscious is looking out for the dangers. So the people that didn't take on board are more likely ones that were a bit more stable, a bit more calm, were in the right headspace at the right time, and was able to easily see, hang on, something isn't right here, because their rational thinking mind was still in the forefront. But those that are highly stressed, overwhelmed, their rational mind was back here, and so the subconscious mind is what has taken over, and they've just gone into straight overwhelm and protection mode.
So that's where they could come to somebody like you and work through hypnotherapy on relaxing that fear response, that sort of inner clench in the subconscious mind.
Yes.
And then, in fact, what you seem to be saying is that their critical thinking mind will become much more able to lead them through life once they've let go of that past trauma.
Definitely.
How much of the population do you think does carry trauma? It must be
all of us do, but it's the level, and it's how much happened in your childhood. And again, trauma in childhood doesn't have to mean you were beaten severely or you had an alcoholic parent. It could be, like many people are afraid of public speaking. If you were a 2-year-old child and you got lost in a supermarket for 2 minutes and all these people were all around you, that's going to create an instant program in your subconscious that you don't like crowds. Simple things like that can make the difference. And once you understand that, once you remember that and go, well, I'm not a child anymore, then the subconscious can let it go.
Give us another example. I thought it was wonderful in part 2, which we'll put underneath this, where you gave an example of a 12-year-old child. Give us an example of, anonymized, of somebody you've helped and their story.
Perhaps someone that was in an abusive relationship. And again, her family life was, one of her parents was quite, not abusive physically, but emotionally, constantly judging, abusive. And when she got into the abusive relationship, when this person was telling her no one else will ever love you, because, why would they? Because her parent was the same, judging her, you're not doing this right, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, then she had lost her identity, and she instantly believed, well, of course, that's what I've known all my life, that I'm not good enough, that I'll never find the right person, nobody's ever going to love me the way I want to be loved because I'm broken. And so once you actually go back and under hypnotherapy, just relax them and say, just imagine yourself as a little child and look at that little child and say, you're never going to be loved. You can't do it because you know that's not true. You know that was other people's opinions and it's not the truth. And when you actually feel who you really are and you embrace your uniqueness, you deserve everything.
And you said that to her when she's in this under this hypnotherapy,
Yes.
which seems to be a semi-relaxed, semi-asleep, but
Yes.
still with a certain level of
Of
awareness and
consciousness.
choice
Yes,
of
yeah.
conscious.
Yeah.
And what was the effect of that, Kim?
Unbelievable. The confidence came back, and I said, the negative thoughts that you tell yourself, imagine telling them to a child, and then you can't do it. So you stop talking to yourself in a negative way. The subconscious goes, oh, things have changed. I'm not this person that you portrayed me to be. And you can improve your self-esteem and actually value who you are.
Gosh, it's interesting. I once said that to a friend who was always putting himself down, and I said, if you had a child in front of you and you talked to a child like that, would you ever talk to a child like that? And he said no. I said, that's how you talk to yourself. As if, so you can really see, because it's in that more absorptive or more responsive state of hypnotherapy, the subconscious can really make that shift.
Yes.
That you can't make necessarily with a conscious choice. What I'm trying to say here is you might consciously understand that, and yet you can't make the shift within you.
No.
But through hypnotherapy you can.
Well, it's like drinking, isn't it? You can have a bottle of wine and you can go, I'm not going to drink this whole bottle. I'm just going to have one.
Yes.
And then you turn around and the whole bottle's gone. Well, that's a conscious thing. But on a subconscious level, you don't even remember drinking it. So if you can change the subconscious program, which means just keep drinking it no matter what because it makes you feel good, then when it comes to a conscious level, you're going to pour that glass and go and put that bottle away and then be happy with that.
So the beauty of this is you're putting the people back in the driving seat
Yes.
of their own lives,
Yeah.
rather than their subconscious memory.
Yes.
So let's look at that. Let's look at that in the context of a drinking addiction or any addiction, any addictive behavior. Actually, I'd like to do the next series on pornography addiction, because my understanding is they have allowed, while silencing all the truth about COVID, they have never tried to stop or silence or control all of the pornography that's poured in. And it almost looks as if it's been allowed in order to break our young men. I've talked to young men who have serious but secretive issues with it, shame and addiction, and I can't break it. So I want to talk about that next time. But let's take the context of drinking, which is also very big in New Zealand. And one of the things they did in COVID was they shut the churches and they
Yep.
left the bottle stores open.
Yep.
So we can now see the evil of what they were doing. But somebody who's driven by an urge for drinking when the overwhelm or the anxiety gets too much, explain that. Explain what's happening there.
Well, the subconscious is designed to move you away from pain and towards pleasure, and it's designed to keep you alive. So if you've learnt that having a drink actually makes you feel better because it relaxes your body, relaxes your mind a bit, the subconscious will pick up on that. And when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, it'll say, have a glass of wine. You know it makes you feel good. Go and eat that whole bar of chocolate because it'll make you feel better. And it's pushing you to do that because it's saying, I can feel your pain. Let's make you feel happier. The problem is you then feel guilty that you've drunk. Oh, I didn't mean to drink that, or I shouldn't have had that whole bar of chocolate. Subconscious mind goes, oh, you're feeling guilty. I know, have some chocolate. Have
another drink.
Wine.
Wow.
So it's numbing emotional pain.
And the hypnotherapy, what does that do in that context?
Well, we can go back again and we can find out the very first time that you decided that alcohol was going to be your friend or chocolate was going to be your friend. And we can look at that and go, well, that was then. I don't need that anymore because now I have these tools. It's all about feeling powerless. In those situations where the subconscious decided you needed pleasure because you were in pain, you would have been powerless at that time. And so it's teaching the subconscious mind to go, actually, I'm not powerless anymore. I can make these decisions. I can have one glass and I can put the bottle away so that I have to get up and consciously make a decision to have another glass instead of just having it beside me and just pouring it away. You start to take back control. And again, understanding is power. And when you understand the roots of where it came from and what your subconscious is trying to do by making you happier, then you can start to take back control.
It's so positive. In this country, in New Zealand, and I know around the world, there would be so many people who would benefit from this, wouldn't there?
Yeah. Because they feel powerless. They come to me and say, I know I shouldn't be doing this.
Yes.
But it's just, I can't stop it. And that's because a subconscious program is stronger than a conscious program. If I was to say to you, stop breathing, you might be able to stop long enough to pass out, but you will start breathing in because it's the subconscious part of you and it's just going to do that. You can't overcome that subconscious program just on a conscious level without actually finding out why it was created and do you really need it. You need to breathe. You know, you need to eat. This is why diets are so difficult, because you need to eat. But the subconscious will choose all the bad foods if it's decided that that gives you pleasure.
It's extraordinary what they've done in the last few years to up the ante on us all feeling more anxious. Are you finding that? Are you finding that prior to COVID there weren't the levels of anxiety that you're looking at now as a therapist?
I think there was still a fair bit of anxiety, but I'm finding it worse in children now, because children were, through the COVID, they were told to mask up, don't mask up, touch, don't touch. You know, they're losing the ability to know, you know, is this safe, isn't this safe? So you can imagine a child, even 6 or 7, 1 minute we can hug, the next minute don't hug.
Yes.
You know, we've got to wear these masks, everybody's walking around. How can I understand somebody's facial expressions? How can I understand what they're portraying to me if I can't see their face? So the screens were great. Let's just look at a phone, let's look at a screen, let's cut out from the world. And that was the plan. You know, if you can't see they're right here, right now, it's easy to program through a screen.
That's horrendous. I remember on the first day of the jabbing in New Zealand of children, we went to the line and we talked very politely to people. I just knocked on the window and said, I'd just like to understand your reasons. And I remember a mother saying, well, I have a compromised immune system, so my child must have this jab, which is the total inverse of normally a mother would say, I will take on all of the issues myself in order for my child to be protected, to be safe. So she was saying the child must take the risk of the jab so that I am safe. I remember the sense of each of these children in the other side of the car, from the driver who was taking them to be jabbed, the anxiety on the child's face.
Yeah.
What would that do to a child, that moment? That it would again be that utter sense of powerlessness, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
They wouldn't have had a say.
Lots of children that have had operations early on or have had stays in hospitals early on have needle phobias or fear of being left alone. Those are one of the more hard ones to deal with for people, because it's so ingrained, because the subconscious goes, you were completely powerless, you had no control, somebody was coming in and hurting you and your parents were allowing it. Well, you know, the parents were allowing them to have blood tests because they needed them to see what was going on, but the child doesn't see that. The child sees that I'm screaming out for you, Mum, to help me here, and you're allowing this person to hurt me. So again, it's a program that then layers on top. Next time they go to hospital, next time Mum says she's too busy to help, you know, this becomes, I'm not good enough, Mum doesn't care. All these layers come up and just it gets bigger and bigger as they get into adulthood. But if it's like the game of Jenga, you know, all these horrible memories that have come up that have made you feel less and less valued, if you take the bottom one out, the whole lot falls. So one of my clients said to me, you remind me of a dentist. I said, oh, please don't. And she said, no, she said, I can go to a dentist and have a filling, which is just like going and talking to someone again and again and again about what happened. Or I can come to you and you can give me the root canal and just take the whole lot out.
It's a whole issue about root canals in there. But I get it. I actually love the Jenga one. Take that lower one out and the whole
lot falls.
tower of fears can fall if you get to the right one.
Definitely.
It's been really interesting, Kim, and I want to look more deeply into children and how we can work to make their conscious minds work with their very strongly developed subconscious minds as parents. So we'll look at that next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.